Hey guys, how are you all doing? It's your girl Cindy. Welcome back again to another video. If you are new here, hi, my name is Cindy. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. Guys, I'm sure by now you all must have seen Tony Hinchcliffe's viral video. If you haven't, I'm gonna play the video here so you all can hear what he said. Now, currently he is under fire because of what he said. Now, as a comedian, he was invited at Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. This man called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Now, people are reacting, making videos. Puerto Ricans are not happy. They have been making tons of videos dragging Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, the vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, made a statement after the angry reaction. He said that people should take a chill pill and take a joke from time to time. And I also saw a clip where Trump was asked his opinion on this. He said that he had no idea who Tony is and he don't know who put him in there. Of course, Puerto Ricans are so mad. They said that Tony knew exactly what he was doing because they are sure that his speech was vetted, and they allowed him to make such joke, basically because they are coming out to say that it is a joke. Anyways, you guys, I have put together a few videos. Let's just hear what people are saying. Of course, I'm going to show you some screenshots of comments. Check these videos out.
We're not laughing. 6 million Puerto Ricans in the U.S., the second largest population of Latinos in the U.S., are not laughing. Mexicanos, Colombianos, Hondureños, Salvadoreños, and every nationality represented here from every Latin American country are not laughing. In fact, all 65 million Latinos living in the U.S. don't think it's funny what was said last night at the Trump rally. And let's make one thing clear. His campaign began in 2016, declaring war against all Latinos by calling all Latinos rapists and murderers. And suddenly, every racist person in America found their leader. They no longer had to hide behind the keyboard. Now they have a voice, and they can say what they really think of all Latinos. And this leader gave them a voice like he did last night at Madison Square Garden. We're not garbage, rapists, murderers. We're teachers, doctors, attorneys, journalists, and yes, farm workers. We are generations of sweat and tears that has made the U.S. what the country is today. Our presence is everywhere. Schools, hospitals, courts, restaurants, hotels. And you would not be eating that plate of food without a Latino first pick those fruits and vegetables. Oh, and one more thing. Latinos, we can also vote.
I don't know how this happened, but things actually just managed to go from bad to worse for Trump as the campaign continues dealing with the crushing fallout from yesterday's Madison Square Garden rally in New York. It turns out that the comic who called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage was also planning on referring to Kamala Harris as the C word, but that got flagged by the campaign. And so think about what that tells you. It shows you that they vetted the material, meaning they approved of calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. They decided that was okay. Look, Latinos, Donald Trump doesn't have an ounce of respect for you. He rose to power calling you rapists and drug dealers, and now he's giving the green light for Puerto Rico to be called trash on the literal biggest stage in the United States of America. Do not reward a guy who hates you by giving him exactly what he's looking for.
Did you know that Puerto Ricans that live on the island cannot vote for the U.S. president during the general elections? I repeat, Puerto Ricans that live on the island cannot vote right now for the president. Though on the island, the highest politician and the ranking official is a governor. So the island does have to abide by U.S. laws and abide to the U.S. president. Puerto Ricans who live on the island are only allowed to input their vote during the U.S. primaries. But as we know, those days are long and gone, as the last day for this general election is next Tuesday. Why do I bring this up? Well, yesterday during a Republican rally at Madison Square Garden, a comedian called Puerto Rico a floating pile of garbage. Yes, he did. And while I think that they thought that that was an okay move to make, since a lot of their campaign runs on bigotry and bullying and divisiveness and fear mongering. I think they fail to realize, or they just don't care about the Puerto Rican vote in the United States. There are more Puerto Ricans that live within the US 50 states and DC than actually live on the island. And over 1 million of those Puerto Ricans live in the state of Florida. And a lot of people, when they think about the Hispanic voter turnout in Florida, they think about the Hispanics that live in Southeast Florida, that a lot of them lean red, they lean Republican. Well, the 1 million Puerto Ricans that live in the state of Florida don't live there. They actually live within what we call the I-4 corridor between Tampa and Orlando. All of these Puerto Ricans in Central Florida that make up a different percentage of the state's electoral votes. And so with those comments made yesterday at that rally, obviously our people are riled up now. Even our famous Benito, Bad Bunny, came out last night and endorsed Kamala. Why? Because that party hasn't had any hatred towards our people. You know, in 2017, when Trump went to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, he was throwing paper towels at our people that had just lost everything after one of the most destructive hurricanes in history. And as a person who's 90% of my family still lives on the island, I very much care about the future of the island and how these politicians treat it. And I also know that it's my duty as a Puerto Rican living in the United States to vote for people who give a damn about my home. The elections end next Tuesday. I cannot wait. I feel like this has been a really emotional roller coaster of an election season. I urge everybody that is still eligible to vote and has not voted to vote with a purpose. Vote for people that care about you. Vote for people that care about the same things that you care about. Because at the end of the day, there is still hope in this country. There is, but we have to work together to achieve it. And we also have to have as many people as possible participating in these elections. Because at the end of the day, the small margins determine the winner. So your vote matters.
Trump held a Klan rally in the middle of New York where he had people talking shit about Puerto Ricans, about Jewish people, about black folks, you know what I'm saying? They even made statements like America is for Americans. Like, not only is Trump married to an immigrant, they had goddamn Elon Musk, the South African settler up in there, you feel me? You really disrespected Puerto Ricans in the middle of New York? Like, that's crazy to me. Then they had the dude that was a comedian that wasn't funny, that tried to be a comedian. He made a joke about carving watermelons with a black person, you feel me? And then I seen this dope video by Mr. Cream, and he reminded me of the history of how watermelons was demonized by white folks because black people were able to get some of the economic progression. We was real hustlers, and they ain't like that. So they tried to really discourage us, you know what I'm saying? That right there was like, in 2024, he had a Klan rally in the middle of goddamn. And then he had Dr. Phil up there talking about America is not built on DEI, it's built on hard working. Like, the fact that you don't believe that DEI is centered around hard work is crazy. But also it's like, hey man, this country was built by mediocre, lazy white men that know how to master colonialism and enslavement, that was literally able to use somebody else's hard work. You see what I'm saying? And DEI, the reason why it's criticism like legitimacy is because the same descendants of the people that had their hard work the country was built on, we got denied access into particular spaces and places. You know what I'm saying? But back to this Klan rally though, because it's like
Puerto Rico is a floating pile of garbage in the middle of the ocean. Primarily, I think it's really interesting that this analogy is being used in support of a campaign that refuses to acknowledge the literal garbage patches in the Pacific Ocean, because they refuse to acknowledge the corporate incentivized degradation of the environment or climate change or anything related to the sort. But that it's always the people actively dehumanizing Puerto Ricans on a national stage, using our poverty rates and our economic situation to disparage us, that refuse to discuss how we arrived to this point. Ever thought and wondered why, despite two parties being complicit in the political, social, and economic repression, the lack of acknowledgement, because I will say that I find it quite appalling that the Democratic National Convention did not mention Puerto Rico as a part of their agenda at all until there was an opportunity and a moment to seize. The United States of America, despite their clear lack of regard for the Puerto Rican people, fight tooth and nail to hold on to us, to make sure that the quote-unquote last colony in the world, debatable term, is kept under the US empire? Is it perhaps the multi-billion-dollar revenue stream that you make out of our occupation every year? Puerto Rico is not a territory that arrived out of thin air, poor and underdeveloped. It is a territory that was invaded by the United States, a victim of a military dictatorship and the consequent artificial degradation of our economy to satisfy US corporate and political interests. Think about the debt. Have you thought 2 seconds to think about who this debt is owed to? The debt that has paralyzed development in Puerto Rico and that has geared all of our resources towards satisfying this repayment. Wall Street. Who's in power in Puerto Rico, overruling the say of the local elected officials, democratically elected by the Puerto Rican people? They go below what? A fiscal oversight management board. With who? With representatives from Wall Street. How did Puerto Rico even enter the United States imperial paradigm? Invasion, right? And after invasion, what was the first thing the United States did? Besides the military dictatorship and the degradation of any kind of lasting democratic institution that was there. Devalue the local currency. It has always been an economic project. Devalue the local currency to 40% of a US dollar. What does that mean? Every Puerto Rican that had money in the bank, that had a property in hand, it was suddenly worth 60% less than it was before. From day to literally a 10-minute video, a 20-minute video is not enough for me to outline every single policy and mechanism that the United States has undertaken to thwart the growth of the Puerto Rican people, to decimate our spirit, to decimate our culture, literally and figuratively, because in terms of population, there was a literal eugenic program that used Puerto Rican women as birth control lab rats, sterilizing them against their will with the legal rationale that this is somehow okay because we needed to control our too quickly growing brown and poor population, which I remind you is the same argument imposed in the insular cases, which is the set of Supreme Court decisions that outline the paradigm of the colony and that justify why we are how we are. And this isn't me making it up word for word. The reason Puerto Rico has a position where the Constitution doesn't follow the flag is because of our distinct brown and inferior population. And these cases have been cited again recently, twice. So this isn't a remnant of an antiquated set of policies that was somehow forgotten. This is reaffirmed recently. Another example I really like to bring up to people is the plantain crisis. After the hurricane and the natural disaster, Puerto Ricans were having a hard time supplying the demand for plantains. And say, in order to fulfill this need, you wanted to buy plantains from the Dominican Republic. They couldn't come in Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. They had to go Dominican Republic, Florida, pay the extra cash to switch it into a US vessel, and then come to Puerto Rico. That is how all of our economy functions when it comes to providing basic goods. So think about that during the hurricane. We only received a 10-day waiver from this policy, which is imposed during the Jones Act. So if countries sent us international aid and they arrived to Puerto Rican ports after those 10 days, they were returned. Either you go to Florida, switch into a US vessel, and then come back, or go back to where you came from. When you needed sugar, we were a sugar colony. When you didn't need it anymore, dump it out, figure it out. When you needed manufacturing during World War II, Puerto Rico is a manufacturing colony. When that supply can come from a mainland state, dump it out, figure it out. When you're organizing politically at the local level, if it goes against us, FBI, surveillance, kill you, figure it out. Like, if we are garbage, USA, I want you to be reminded that you created it. And before you ever even consider referring to Puerto Ricans as inferior to you, I want you to remind yourself that despite centuries of dehumanization and political, social, and economic repression, Puerto Ricans have retained their sense of identity. We've retained our culture. We've retained our language. We've retained our spirit. We've retained our power, and we are still here giving you a fight.
When I saw conservative comedian Kil Tony say at a Trump rally in Madison Square Garden today that Puerto Rico is a pile of trash in the middle of the ocean, as somebody who grew up in the state of Florida, the first thing that went through my mind was, are you fucking stupid? And yes, I understand that this is a comedian, and I understand that he's on stage to make jokes. He also made a joke about Black Americans carving watermelons during Halloween. The thing that really actually just baffles me, though, is that the Trump campaign did this having to know the fact that this would be cut up, this would be put on the internet, this could be potentially run in campaigns, and Florida is very much in play right now. And I don't know if anybody at the Trump campaign did any research before they allowed Kil Tony to go on that stage, but there are 1.2 million Puerto Ricans in the state of Florida right now. Not to mention the fact that Latinos make up 17% of the overall voting population in the state. Most people incorrectly assume that most Latino voters are in the southern part of the state, but that's actually not true. In the past 20 years, there has been an explosion of Latino voters in the central part of Florida, which over the course of the past few election cycles has been more Republican than Democrat. But you have counties like Marion, Polk, Pasco, Pinellas, all of these types of counties that are in the central part of the state from Tampa to Orlando and those surrounding counties, those are very much having high volumes of Latino voters over the course of the past 20 years. The only thing in my head that I could think of was the voters registration deadline for Florida passed on October 7th, so maybe they're just hedging their bets that this isn't going to drive a lot of people to actually register to vote, or they're hedging their bets that Latino voters don't turn out. But even then, the risk of just having somebody for laughs and to be able to entertain an audience in Madison Square Garden, that could come at the expense of a large population of voters in the state of Florida, it just doesn't make sense. I understand that Latino voters, they are a little bit skewing towards Democrat, but there is a huge population of Latino Republican voters because they are conservative, because they come from Christian backgrounds, who have traditionally voted for Republicans. And I think if this was to get in front of them, if the statement that Puerto Rico is a pile of trash in the middle of the ocean were to be able to seen by them at a Trump-Vance rally, I think that that could actually influence a couple thousand votes. And as we are aware, based off the past few election cycles, a couple thousand votes really matters right now.
The comedian at Trump's rally today, I think, may have been the last nail in the coffin of his campaign. He was absolutely repulsive. And some of the things he said were, it's so far beyond offensive. Like, I don't know who laughs at this stuff. He literally called Puerto Rico a trash can. And then he said that Hispanic people can't stop having children, and said they come inside just like they come inside our country. This man really got on a stage and said that in front of people into a microphone. I'm sorry, but MAGA people are so white trash. It's embarrassing to be the same species as MAGA people. I have secondhand embarrassment just from being a human being alongside these motherfuckers. Like, I don't understand how they can so loudly say the things that they say without any fear of repercussions. Like, I think that guy's life is literally over. I've already seen, I mean, first of all, Bad Bunny just went and endorsed Kamala. So he's screwed. Trump is screwed. I mean, he's been screwed. After this is all said and done, literally, good luck being a Trump supporter, because you will be ostracized from society.
Now, I've never run for president of the United States. I've never run for any public office. But my understanding of how elections work is that the candidates who are running are trying to get as many people to vote for them as possible. So with that in mind, I'm curious as to why the Trump team okayed this comedian's joke. And you might think, oh, well, that's just a joke. That's no big deal. Do you remember a few months ago I predicted that Kamala Harris was going to flip Florida blue? And I cited a number of reasons for that, like abortion rights being on the ballot, legalizing marijuana is on the ballot, and I think Kamala Harris is going to play well in Florida. But for the context of this video, let's just see how many Puerto Ricans live in Florida. Ooh, not a small amount. Almost 1.2 million Puerto Ricans are in Florida. That's about 5.6% of Florida's total population. Now you might be thinking to yourself, but Joe, that's a long shot for Kamala to flip Florida blue. That's not a battleground state. That's not a swing state. Okay, fair enough. Fair argument to be made. But you know what is a swing state? Pennsylvania. Here are the election results from 2020. See the vote differences? That's a difference of 81,660 votes. You know how many Puerto Ricans live in that swing state of Pennsylvania? Almost 500,000 of them. And this is as of October of 2020, when they made up almost 4% of the entire population of the state. Now, again, I've never run for president of the United States, but if I were to run for president of the United States, I don't think I would be calling any swath of the electorate or letting someone on stage introducing me call any swath of the electorate garbage. I don't know. Seems kind of self-explanatory, don't you think?
I took some screenshots of comments. Of course, every of my video, I tried to bring some comments so you guys can read and see what other people are saying or what other people said in regards to that video. On your screen are some of these comments. Please pause to read if you want to.
It says, these people have no sense of humor. Wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. So this post right here didn't sit well with a lot of Puerto Ricans. They started dragging him on X. Some of them said that instead of him to come out and apologize to Puerto Ricans, he decided to post this to justify what he said. Now, here are a few comments. Please pause to read, guys, if you want to. This is still going viral on TikTok and on X. Like, all over social media platform, people are dragging Tony for, saying those words. Anyways, you guys, I thought I should bring these videos here because this is what is trending. In as much as I'm not Puerto Rican, but I don't like it when people say, racist things, okay? When people say these words to other people, and then they feel so comfortable, they feel okay to say these words, not minding how the people would feel. Some people are saying that this viral video is not going to help Trump. Some people are saying that it is going from bad to worse. As I was reading comments, I saw a lot of comments, people saying, we are standing with Puerto Rico, and they are putting the blue heart, which represents, Kamala. Again, this is what Black people have been saying. And then other people see Black people, oh, you guys are making these things up. Like, now you're beginning to understand that they will never pick you. They will never accept you because you are not them and you will never be. Anyways, you guys, I thought I should bring these videos here. Let me know what you all think in the comment, what you have to say. Please kindly drop it in the comments.
Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and of course, come back on another video. I'm gonna see y'all in my next one. Y'all stay blessed. Bye.